Thanks, Jeff. This is fiction. Eric and I are at a place called the Blacktop Inn in Brainerd, Minnesota, with his friend Eddie, his only friend, who has just got back from Iraq. We're supposed to be celebrating, all three of us, along with the people we don't know. Two elderly men sitting at the bar, one with his hand wrapped in bandages talking on the landline, the other man leaning over his pint glass trying to read the phone, and a lady bartender who smokes long, slender cigarettes and has a bleached blonde permanent and a tattoo of a steel-colored steed whinnying over her right breast. Eric and I have driven nearly 4 hours to welcome Eddie home. We haven't seen him for almost 2 years. Supposedly he'll go back in another 8 months. I don't care about seeing him, though I'm happy he's alive, for his sake, and it seems that he wants to be. And just this time, that at only 27, he's chubbier around the midsection and his hairline is receding. One of his arms is covered, also in tattoos I can't make out. He has shrapnel lodged in his left shoulder and he can't rotate his arm in a full circle anymore. Eric is doing his song and dance. He's drinking beer after beer and is animated, leaning in close to Eddie's face with a wide smile, spitting when he talks, waving his hands in the air, and spilling his beer on the floor when he gets especially riled up about something or another. He performs like a wind-up toy, a motorized helicopter flinging itself into tree branches. He doesn't do this for me anymore. I get the flatline version, dead batteries. I am a habitual accoutrement to his life, like an armchair or domestic appliance. However, I suppose he serves the same purpose as me. There's the justification that it's just too hard to replace all the appliances. But then I think of all the things I want. I make a checklist in my mind and all the boxes are empty. I think about Robert, our affair, how silly it is. I try to remember the person I was who felt moved enough to perform for someone else. And when I can't remember that person, when I go looking for her into some fuzzy past, the idea of habitual accoutrements becomes as crushing as drowning beneath the surface of an icy pond. Wow, this is more emotional than I thought it was going to be. Anyway. Eric and Eddie have left the table and are at the bar, standing at attention with shot glasses in front of them, waiting for me. Deidre, the lady bartender, yells my name from far away and waves me over. I stand up from my stool and knock it over. They all laugh. "Are you sure you want one of these?" Eric asks, something like concern in his voice. "Yeah, give it to me," I say. "That's my girl," Eddie says, and raises his glass in the air. I roll my eyes at the bartender and Eric catches it. "Oh, come on, what's that?" he says, and at that moment I know the rest of the night will feel longer. Nothing. I swallow the shot with them. My wedding band clings to the side of the glass. We do another and another. The alcohol hits me at once, rolls over me like a giant snowball, and the conversation of the men compresses into one long warble. I get bits and pieces of words, though there are moments of clarity. "When I was in Baghdad," Eddie starts to say, "I listened to a ton of Van Halen. I fucking love them." He shakes his head left to right as he brings his glass to his mouth. "They got me through some horrible shit." Eric mimics his motion, shaking his head too, and puts his arm around Eddie's shoulders. I think about the icy pond again and slur back, "Poor Van Halen." Eddie looks away. Eric glares at me from across the table. They feel like the first words I've spoken all night. I decide to take a moment, so I head to the bathroom and I am stumbling forward like a baby learning to walk. The room is yellow tile and very small, like a broom closet or crawl space. I sit on the toilet seat with a hand over my forehead. I take out my phone and text Anna. "Think I'm finally leaving Eric tonight." She responds right away, "Yes, please." I put my phone back in my pocket and I take a few minutes to look at myself in the mirror. The winter has chapped my lips and I rub my tongue over the dead skin. I find a gray hair in one of my eyebrows and try to pick it out. The small, cramped room reeking of solvents and mildew gives me a sense of freedom because if only right now it feels outside of the world containing it. Someone knocks on the door and I yell at them to hold on just one more minute. I swing the door open and it's Eric. "What are you doing in here?" He seems suspicious. I'm doing nothing. What are you doing? I ask, also suspiciously. I need to use the bathroom, he says, and places his hand on the door. Well, use it then. I duck under his arm and can smell his body odor, which used to excite something between us, but now hangs in the air like bad potpourri. He slams the door behind me and I go back to the bar. The old men have left and the bartender points a remote at the television set and flips channels. The local news is playing a story about the spike in heroin overdoses in rural Minnesota, and some Scandinavian-looking platinum blonde teenager with long dashing eyelashes flashes across the screen. I stumble across the floor and point at the set. Those Scandinavians, I say to the bartender, they sure love heroin, don't they? In my state, I find this funny, but the bartender doesn't laugh, just looks at me straight-faced and changes the channel. Eddie is at the table scrolling through his phone. I remember him in high school, though we were never close. Shy, mushy, very few opinions about anything. He wrestled his junior year. Eric was the more intelligent of the two, descended from port workers, farmers, good with his hands. He was always wanting me until I gave in. And once we were together, Eddie fell to the wayside until the two of them reconnected one night after 9/11, got drunk, annihilated really, and decided to enlist. Eric got the long end of that stick too, piloting planes from far away. After an 8-hour shift, he comes home, watches primetime television, gets a good night's sleep, and still feels like a hero. The bar is very quiet except for the TV, and the snow has started falling outside. The white flakes are red through the neon haze of the beer signs glowing in the front window. There is the scent of cigarettes, bleach, stale beer, Eric, Eddie, me, the bartender. I am so desperate to escape. I feel Eric walk behind me, his scent again. Back at the table, he stares up at me from behind his pint glass. He holds the look for so long that it is uncomfortable. I stumble to the jukebox and start scrolling through the buttons. When do I get to be the hero? I say to myself, and choose a song. When it starts to play, Eric pumps his fist in the air, and Eddie looks as if he's standing in the middle of a street, alone. A semi-truck coming at him full speed. Eric sees his reaction and leans into him, and I watch this as I walk back to them. Standing between the two best friends, I put my hands flat on the table to keep myself from falling. I smile at Eddie, gurgle, my eyes half closed. He gets close to my face and I can smell the alcohol in him, the earthiness of his breath and lips. How could you play this, he asks. I thought you liked Van Halen, I say and take a sip from my beer. Not here, he says, not now. What the hell's the difference, I ask him. There's a huge difference, he says, getting angrier, his voice rising, some guttural force trying to escape. His face tensing and pinkening. Eric sees Eddie transported, recrushed, and hurries to the jukebox to unplug it. He yells at the bartender to turn it off, but she says there's nothing she can do, that it just has to play through. I'm sorry, I tell Eddie. I don't think you mean it, he says. His frame, both muscular and paunchy, seems to shrink, his eyes glaze. No, I don't mean it, I say. I knew you didn't, Eddie says and puts his beer down. I'm leaving before I do something, he says to the room. He gets his jacket from the coat rack and walks through the swinging doors into the snow. I hear the engine of his truck start, the door slamming shut before it. Eric is still futzing with the jukebox, but he looks up panicked and sees his only friend who he hasn't seen in almost 2 years. Eddie was shrapnel lodged in his shoulder, leaving the Blacktop Inn in Brainerd in the dead last week of February, leaving again, and then it will be again. Eric runs for the swinging doors and yells Eddie's name into the parking lot, but he's already gone. I don't know exactly what I've done, but I do know some things. There is what he's done, I've done, they've done. Eric takes his coat from the rack, and the force of him ripping it from the hook tips the whole thing over. As he marches to the table, the coat rack lands like a shot-down bird on the wooden floor, a thud that is quick and dully punctuated. Why did you do that? He confronts me. It's the most passion I've seen from him in a long time, maybe years. His voice breaks at the back end. Because I hate you, I tell him, and I hate Eddie too. He grabs the top of my arm, the meatiest part, and pulls me from the table. I knock over the stool again. He pulls me through the swinging doors. I watch the back of his head, the angle of his earlobe. The snow falls like burnt paper. The dark clouds above us crumble and cover the fields that surround Brainerd in every direction for miles. Eric opens the passenger side and shoves me in. My body is like a balloon filled with pudding. No pain, just weight. He gets in the driver's side and slams the door. The rearview mirror falls off the inside of the windshield. I remember that we had a hotel reservation, but Eric says we're driving straight through, 4 hours back to Ashland, over land that looks like a dying planet, and it seems that we are the only people alive in this moment, except for Eddie driving back to his one-bedroom apartment somewhere in Brainerd, alone, and the bartender cleaning up the mess we made inside and flipping channels. 30 minutes into the drive, I think I tell Eric I want a divorce, that I can't stand it anymore, and then I black out and wake up back home on the couch with a blanket over my head, wondering what happened after the point I do remember, and start to piece it together whether I want to or not. Thank you.